Our moderator is Peace Itimi, Head of Growth at Hoover, who will be running the session. But before I introduce you to Peace, do not forget to share what you're learning. Let's share the love, let's share the knowledge, using the hashtag CogX 2021. And do not wait to the end to ask for your questions. Please do ask the questions throughout. So Peace, I would like to hand over to you.
Hi, thank you so much, Fabian. Hi, everyone. Everybody watching from home. Hope you guys are doing okay. I'm super excited to be moderating another session today. And this session, we're going to be talking about nurturing community safety, and I have really amazing panelists. We have Laura Higgins from Roblox. Hi, Laura. Are you here?
Hi, Peace. I'm here.
Oh, awesome. Nice to see you. You're looking really good today.
Oh, thank you. You're too kind. I'm so pleased to be here with everyone. Thanks so much.
Awesome. And then my second panelist is Marc-Antoine from Yubo. Hi, Marc.
Hey, how are you?
Hi, I'm fine. How you doing?
Yeah, good. Thank you.
Awesome. So I would like you guys to introduce yourself for just like 30 seconds, maybe throw more light on what you do at your different companies, and what to expect from the session. It's like 30 minutes, 30 seconds rather.
Okay, that's
Marc, do you want to go first?
So yes, I'm Marc-Antoine Durand. I'm the COO at Yubo, mainly in charge of user safety of the platform. And so just to give you some context about Yubo, Yubo is a social platform with more than 50 million users all around the world. And our goal is to allow Gen Z to socialize online, to make new friends, to meet new people based on their interests, passion, through live streaming and chats. So basically, we have created the first social discovery app for people that want to connect all around the world.
Amazing. Thank you so much for that. Lara, do you want to go?
Thank you. So at Roblox, our mission is to build a platform that enables billions of users to share experiences together. The Roblox concept of such a platform of shared experiences is quite often referred to as the Metaverse. It's a term that comes from science fiction originally, but really what it talks about is this persistent and shared 3D virtual space in a virtual universe. So replicating the kind of experiences that you might have in the real world, but in an online environment. It's used by people of all ages. We're in 180 countries around the world. And our latest figures, I think we had 42.1 million daily active users in the first quarter of this year. So, you know, hopefully we're really on our mission towards connecting everybody together across the world.
Amazing. Thank you so much for that lovely introduction. My very first question is, our topic today is nurturing community safety. When you hear the phrase nurturing community safety, what actually comes to your mind? Lara, do you want to go first?
Yeah, of course. So, you know, for us at Roblox, I think this whole idea of nurture is incredibly important. You know, we have traditionally been a platform where, you know, we've worked with educators and families and caregivers and sort of quite a young audience coming into the platform. And for some of them, it really is their first taste of an online experience, and particularly with the social element that's so important within Roblox. So that idea of nurture and protection and making sure that we have safeguards in place and create a place where they can really learn and thrive and sort of learn the skills, the digital citizenship and civility that they need to be part of a really healthy community. What's actually happened now is, as we're growing up as a company, so is our community. So we now have, you know, a really thriving kind of teenage and actually older community within the platform. And so we still want to make sure that we're there providing them with the support and services that they might need from us as a platform, but actually, you know, hopefully teaching them some skills and some things that they might take from our platform and actually use across all of their online interactions. You know, for us, safety is our #1 priority. It's kind of built in our DNA. We're always trying to iterate on that and improve and introduce new systems. We will never stop striving towards that. But it's this goal of kind of getting people to look at their behavior and you know, some of those life skills that actually are so vital online as well as offline. So for us, you know, the Civility program that I head up is about teaching empathy and kindness and helping people understand how to resolve conflict appropriately and those sorts of skills, which are not often associated with an online environment, but actually all of us need to use every day to have those healthy online interactions.
Amazing. Thank you so much for that. Marc, what do you think?
The first thing I think about when we were talking about safety is that for us at Yubo, safety is a something of common interest. So it means that it's part of the everyday business, but it shouldn't be like an entry barrier for businesses. So what I mean is that when we're dealing with safety, we need to share everything we're learning at Yubo or from other platforms, and we really need to be as transparent as possible to really make sure that other people can help us grow our systems, and also that we can share with other people what we're doing. So we think that safety is a topic of common interest. So that's the first thing. And the second thing I think about safety, I think we are in an exciting period because safety used to be some legal requirement you need to do to protect your community. But I think now most of the platforms are going further and start to really think safety also as an ethics and a responsibility tech company have to really protect their user, and going further than just safety as moderation, but also safety as an ethics, as a way to educate users, to show them how to use the platform in a safe way to prevent things from happening. So I think we are in an exciting period where we are moving forward in terms of definition of safety, and it's not only like the legal stuff we need to do, but it's also like the ethics of the company that will drive to more protection, prevention, education. So I think that's what I think when we're talking about safety.
Amazing. So just continue from what you just said. You want to give us like practical steps that you guys take at Yubo, because you have a community of over 50 million people, if that's correct, and that's a massive number. So when you actually try and make everybody safe, what are the key steps that you take as a mobile platform or social media platform to make sure that it's a really good environment for everybody to be and relate to?
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of things, but I would say that there are three main things. Let's say the detection, the prevention, and the education. So the detection is that you need to have the best team and the best technology to detect as fast as possible when inappropriate stuff are happening. So it means that you need to, for example, we develop in live streams technologies and algorithms that takes a screenshot of a live stream every 2 seconds, and that is able to scan every live stream in real time and to detect what is happening there, like blood, weapon, drugs, anything, any inappropriate. So technology to really we've put in place like a lot of technologies, and we are always iterating on that to make sure that we detect as fast as possible everything that is happening on the platform, so that we are really monitoring in real time everything also with our team. The second thing is around prevention. So we think that it's a mix between having a very specific ethics around prevention and safety, as I said before, and we have developed some technology to give clear information to user when they are going to do something that could be inappropriate, or risky for them. Because, for example, when a user is going to send a message with their private information, like private address or the city they're living in, or we think that it could be risky for the user. So what we do is that in real time, we detect that and we send a warning pop-up to the user saying that it could be risky to share this kind of information. So the idea is that technology can help us in very specific moments to prevent things from happening, but also to give clear and very transparent information about the thing they are going to do. So that's an example among many other of technology that can really empower user in the way they use social media, because people are not always, like reading the guidelines or the terms and conditions, even if they are like well written. The important is that if we read the point of contact, the specific moment when they can learn something, I think it's very important, and it will be beneficial for their use of social media, generally speaking. And the last thing is around education. So we try to be also to develop like transparency to make sure that we not only prevent but also educate our community in the long term. So that's let's say the three main verticals of things we develop at Yubo.
Amazing. So education prevention. And what was the first one again?
Detection.
Detection. Amazing. So Laura, for your platform, Roblox, you basically do games for kids, right? And I know that aside the kids who interact with the platform, we have teachers and parents. So what skills and tools have you found very valuable for not just the kids themselves, but for parents and teachers to utilize in helping, the children feel safe when they're playing on the internet?
So yeah, I mean, the first thing I would say, is, and I absolutely understand why you would say that piece, that, it's about games and it's children. And actually, I think that's where we used to be, but we've evolved so much, this idea of the metaverse. We talk about experiences now, because actually everything on our platform is user generated. Everything is created by young developers all over the world who are creating these experiences themselves for other people then to go and to go and join them in. And so what we've seen is a move away from traditional games to these real experiences. So whether it's experiencing some entertainment, whether it's going and doing some role play and going and working in a cafe or running a business or something based in nature, we're seeing much more of that kind of thing happening. And also this idea of aging up, where, as I say, now a huge proportion of people on our platform are actually teenagers and young adults. And in fact, we're seeing adults using it. We hold our team meetings within Roblox and using our avatars. So I think we've just sort of grown way beyond that idea of children. That said, protecting families, working with parents and equipping them with skills and tools so that they can protect their families is absolutely still key to what we do. So we have a whole team within Roblox called Roblox Education, and most of them are from a background of education themselves. And we run something called Roblox Studio, which is where all the creation of the games and experiences within Roblox happens. So we work with schools, we work with coding camps all over the world to help provide training and skills. There are online tutorials. We have creator challenges. So we've just launched one called Build It, Play It, where young people are encouraged to get involved and to learn some of these skills to create these great experiences themselves. We really understand that parents are incredibly busy and often they don't have time to go searching out information. So it's about trying to be really responsive to that, to make things bite-sized, easy to understand, easy to access. So within Roblox, because we do have some of those younger people on the platform, we have a whole raft of tools for parents, a whole lot of parental controls, which are all pin controlled, and parents can go and familiarize themselves and spend time making sure that they're comfortable and that their children understand those tools and mechanisms. And then as the young people start growing up and building some of that resilience and they're able to manage it more, we would encourage the parents then to kind of back off and let the young people experience things, for themselves, but hopefully equipped with the knowledge of how to handle something if it were to happen. The most important information and advice we would ever give to parents is to be present, to be involved. We actually carry out surveys regularly with both parents and young people on our platform. And a quarter of the parents that we spoke to in our 2019 survey said that they saw playing games with their family as a really good way to bond. And about 41% of them were regularly sitting down and actually getting involved playing games. We've seen that number go up through the pandemic. I mean, the impact of the pandemic and lockdown has been really, really difficult on everyone. But actually some positives that we've seen come out of it is this engagement with families and young people, both as using online experiences as a way of connecting together, but actually having more time to sit together as well, whilst we've had pressures of trying to do homeschooling and working from home and things, but actually just physically being in the building together has meant that parents have been a bit more involved in their kids' online life. But yeah, generally the advice is just to talk to your kids. They really love this stuff. This is where they want to spend their time, where they're hanging out. So the more that you open that conversation and talk to them about it, trust me, they love to talk about it for ages. So they will be open to it, and hopefully you'll get a real insight into what's happening for them. It's not just giving them the safety tips, but listening to what they like and what they don't like, and any experiences they might have already had and perhaps hadn't talked to you about. All of those things are really positive, teachable moments.
Amazing. Thank you so much for that question, for that answer rather. Just going a bit outside of your platform. Generally, right, Laura, you've spent a couple of years, I think over 10 years, just playing around online community and online safety. What do you think are some of the biggest lessons you've learned so far in just keeping community safe outside of Roblox itself?
That's a great question. So I think expect the unexpected is the first thing. The world has changed in ways we never could have imagined in the last 10 years, not least in the last couple of years with the pandemic happening. We couldn't have planned for that. So I think being agile, listening, my most important thing as a professional is go and talk to the people who are being affected. So I've worked with adult victims of online abuse as well as safeguarding children, which has been the main focus of my career. We can make some assumptions as safeguarding professionals about what rules need to be in place, what platforms need to do to keep people safe. There are huge numbers of studies by academics about, data protection and all of those sorts of topics. So we should have those as a standard. But if we really want to be reactive to what's really affecting young people and to really make a positive difference, we have to get in there with the communities. We need to talk to them and see it from where they're sitting rather than where we are as adults and professionals. Quite often, there are some obviously very high risk situations we want to avoid at all costs, but most young people don't actually experience those really awful things, thankfully. It's the day-to-day things that may be more harmful and more prevalent that we may miss. We can talk about bullying and we will probably have assumptions of what bullying might look like, but it's only when we talk to young people and get that nuance of what it looks like. And actually, most platforms probably wouldn't even pick that up with their policies. But having an understanding helps us to talk to young people in a different way and to have better tools that are more responsive to the things that they need. So I think that's one of the first things. And this idea that you can't work in a silo. It's actually joyful working in the games industry. It's so collaborative and companies really do pull together. And to Marc-Antoine's point around, sharing what you're learning with companies is really, really positive. And I've seen a lot more of that happening, but we can still do more. Collectively, we all have a duty of care for this one audience, because the same people that are using my platform are using Yubo and they're using all of the other streaming platforms and they're on social media. So actually, the more that we can work together to simplify tools, to listen to what those problems are and put solutions in place, the safer the environment's going to be for everybody.
Amazing. So two things, right? We can't work in silos. And one, you have to actively talk to these people to be able to know how to create a really good environment for them. Thank you so much, Lara. Max, my next question is, Yubo right now has over 50 million users, like you mentioned. But there was a time when you probably had 1,000 users, and then you had 10,000 users, and you had maybe 1 million users. And now it's like 50x that. What are the challenges that you experienced at early stage that are different from what you're experiencing now, and how have you sort of navigated online safety as it pertains to growth? Because we'll have some people who are watching right now who do not have as big a platform as Yubo or Roblox, and they're still just small, but they want to make sure that even now that they're beginning to prepare for, or they're doing the right things, and as well preparing for growth as it goes all the way to massive usage. Okay.
Yeah, that's a good question. I think the thing you have to deal for when the platform is growing fast is really the scale of everything. So everything that was small is becoming like very big very quickly. So you need to organize on everything, and so that's why technology is so helpful in doing like safety and moderation. It's because humans are not able to scan everything. So we are able to manually check all the reports. But for example, if you want to check all the content, and so what happened at Yubo is that we developed internally like many different technology, machine learning algorithms, and we are now able to really do like proactive moderation. So it means that we are able to detect any form of inappropriate content, even if they are not reported. So I think the most challenging thing is how to deal with the scale, with the volumes, and to keep your ethics. As I said previously, the ethics you have around the topics with the scale. So I think that's the main that's the main challenge with growth. But also if you have enough resources, because when you have more user, normally you have more also resources. It can be revenue, it can be fundraising. So it means that you can also recruit people that can really fulfill your long-term vision of safety. For example, we're working on age verification. We're working on behavior detection. So that's the kind of thing we were able to do manually, let's say, at the very beginning. So now we are able to scale that and to really go further. So I think it's very difficult when you're growing. I won't lie. So in terms of operation, you have to really deal with the scale. But after, you can really go further in terms of project you're working on. So I think that's the exciting thing about growth, is the resources and the things you can do for your long-term vision. But I think the ethics you have from your company, if you're able to cultivate that and share that with all the new people that join the team, and you have the right skills to do that, I think that's very important, to make sure that you have the two things to keep your spirit, your culture, and the ethics you have in terms of safety, to make sure that your community is growing also safely.
Amazing. So if I hear you correctly, you say that the key thing about growth is that the more you grow, the more resources you likely would even have to be able to keep your community safe. So it's important that you begin to utilize those resources at different stages of growth, and also make sure that you have the right people and the right culture that promotes safety, regardless of what stage you are in.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
Amazing.
Yeah, that's really important.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So my next question is for Laura, right? We'll just go right back to you. So we've been in pandemic for basically like 18 months since early last year. And even now, there's still lots of countries that are still very close. So in this time when there's been little to no in-person social connection, we've seen that platforms that enable connection virtually have grown like amazingly. They've gotten a lot of magnificent attraction. We have Hopning, we have StreamYard. A lot of people didn't even used to use like 2 years ago, 1 year ago, but suddenly it became the only way for us to have online events. Now, what would you say is the thing about this online platforms that are really attracting people the most, and what responsibilities does the industry have to making sure that the more people come in and they stay even after the pandemic, that it's still really safe?
Great question. So I think it kind of follows on from the last one, really, around how you manage growth and safety. It has to come first. You know, we always say you can't retrofit safety. You can't grow and then suddenly kind of plug holes. You need to be thinking, you know, one day we might be used by 40 plus million people every day. That has to be kind of in your goal. So, you know, for us, it was very much around, we were already on a huge growth trajectory before the lockdown happened. And so we were thinking ahead around growing out our team. So we now have over 3,000 people around the world doing trust and safety for us and monitoring content 24/7. We moderate all assets before they're uploaded into our game. I think it was 96 million assets in 2020. So we have multiple safety systems, and we're always adding, we have this multi-layered approach to safety, which just therefore allows us to grow at a really quick rate to make sure that safety is always kind of the key and the core of everything that we're doing. But as you say, you know, we were very lucky, as much like Yubo, you know, we're a platform that was about socializing, about bringing people together in a place where people could just hang out. And of course, you know, the interesting thing that I think we should reflect on is to say it's been a difficult time for everybody, but actually young people have shown such incredible resilience. They've actually pivoted really quickly to still being able to maintain their friendships and just turning it into online, because they were already blending those two things. So whilst, of course, I have no doubt there has been an impact on their mental health and well-being because of being at home and missing out on those face-to-face interactions, they have maintained friendships. They've built new friendships. They found ways to still carry on enjoying their hobbies virtually. They have pivoted to homeschooling really, really well. And so platforms like ours, which does have that kind of metaverse feel, where they can go to a concert with their friends, they can go create, they can just sit and chat and do those sorts of things as well. We've had schools running classes within Roblox. And actually, one of the things we saw was things that people would traditionally do face-to-face, birthday parties, school graduations, those sorts of things. People used Roblox as a way to create spaces, have private servers, and carry on getting groups of people together in those really safe spaces, so they could still continue having celebrations and having get-togethers. Families, for example, we heard last year, who would normally travel across different areas of the States to be together for Thanksgiving, were then not able to do so. So they were doing it virtually and all meeting up within Roblox. And you had generations of families all coming together. And people said it truly was a bit of a lifeline for them, that they had this safe space where they could still be together. They could have fun and connect and chat and have that social element. So, you know, I hope that the people who've really enjoyed that and appreciated that, whilst as much as it is vital that we all get together in the real world and are able to socialize, but actually remembering that those spaces are still there, you know, for times when you might have gone a long time between seeing family members, for example. That just gives you an opportunity to maintain and have those friendships and relationships going in between as well.
Amazing. Thank you so much for that, Lara. Marc, I'll ask you a very similar question. And one of the things about a lot of people having to do most of their things online is also that fact that sometimes it affects emotion, their mental health, their well-being, and even just having social anxiety. Now, Yubo has users who are mostly Gen Z and millennials, people who are born into technology. Have you seen reports or studies or just data of social interactions affecting the mental health or social anxiety of your users? And is there any way that Yubo is, helping with this at all?
Yeah, the thing is that in terms of product, you have to create value for the user. So it means that we're always talking to our users, to getting feedback from them, and to really make sure that they really enjoy the product and exactly to know what do they need. And we really also so in terms of mental health, we really monitor the mental health of our community every day. So we have safety specialists that really take care of every report and every live to see, for example, if we have users that could feel depressed. And we are always trying, when we detect that, it can be from many different channels, like from user reports or algorithm detection of keywords in their live stream comments, for example. We really make sure that we are here for them and we send them like the right resources. For example, for users that could feel, for example, depressed or even more, what we do is that they can talk to. We made a partnership with an NGO in France called Net Écoute, and users can directly talk to an expert from Net Écoute directly inside Yubo, because the thing is that we noticed is if you give like phone numbers, resources, we know that people won't call these numbers. Especially now, nobody wants to call people, so especially for Gen Z. So we're trying to find like ways to allow people that could feel bad to get some help in a user-friendly way. So meaning that they can talk to directly in the Yubo chat to expert from this NGO. And so we are always trying to check our community, to take care of them, and to give them like the resources to make sure that they feel okay about anything. So I think that's the thing we are trying to do on an everyday basis.
Amazing. Thank you so much. I'm going to ask a few questions. We have like 3 questions from the audience. And I know we have just about 10 minutes left, so I'll leave my questions and go back to the audience questions for a bit. First question here says, what are some of the challenges with respect to safety that each of your communities face? Marc, do you want to go first?
I think there are many challenges, of course. I think one of the challenge we have, and we really try to tackle since the very beginning, I think it's edge verification. And so since for more than 2 years, we partner with a company called Yoti that do edge verification on the platform, because we really think that it's part of our job to make sure that people have the right age and to really reduce any form of risk around that. I think that's kind of challenging because the only way to verify someone's age is to get an ID document. And not everyone has an ID document, or sometimes people don't want, for privacy reasons, to share this kind of document. So we are trying to find solutions to minimize the data we are asking for user, and to make sure that we protect them in a very efficient way. So I think that's the challenge, to be really creative in the way we do age verification, identity verification. So I think that's pretty it's really interesting. So we've done a lot of different stuff, even for parental consent, for example. It's very challenging around that. Maybe we can talk after. So we do like edge scan detection in the picture to make sure that, for example, we are able to detect like the age of the user in their public pictures. So we're trying a lot of different stuff to also tackle this question of age verification, identity, which is pretty complex. So I think that would be one of the challenges we have. And I think the second one is around, it could be around bullying and toxicity. So we are working with our community to really understand what is toxicity, because it's a word that is really employed a lot. And so we really need to understand what is at stake. And what we notice is that there is a part we can do to help our users, and there is a part when we can give them the tools to protect themselves from what they consider as toxic. So it could be people insulting them or just being nasty to them. So we had to give the right tools for users to really combat toxicity, and also do the part of our job in terms of filtering, of course, and many different stuff. So I think that's two challenges, and you really need to be creative in the way you address this problem, because there is not one solution for age verification or for bullying. There are like multiple layers and multiple solutions you need to put in place by getting feedback, and also creative, like all the technology to achieve that. So that's two examples, but they are like, as you can imagine, like many different challenges.
Awesome, thank you, Laura.
Yeah, so I mean, I agree with everything that Marc-Antoine said. I think, for us, as I've said, we were a platform built for young people, around young people. And so with that, we have incredibly stringent moderation practices, probably some of the strictest that are out there, really. Sometimes that annoys the young people on the platform, but, we see that as our responsibility. So as I say, as well as having grown our trust and safety agents to over 3,000 and monitoring for inappropriate content, using machine scanning and human moderation. So we filter all of our text chat on the platform. We don't allow any inappropriate content. We also, as I mentioned, have the parental controls and different reporting tools. So there's that kind of, self-reporting, self-moderation that young people can use. We have our whole education program. So with our education team, we launched a digital civility curriculum, which included things like a scavenger hunt to teach about disinformation and misinformation. So we have all of these things, and for us, we see it as both it's a joint responsibility. We have to make sure that we are monitoring for the most harmful behaviors and potentially harmful people on the platform, and being incredibly robust in our response to that, and just sort of monitoring for those things. And thankfully, it is incredibly rare that anything really bad happens on the platform. What we would tend to see is everyday things that you might expect to see in a playground or in a school, where young people fall out. So it might be, that they're squabbling over something. A group of friends might fall out and they're being a bit mean. So with our chat filtering, for example, if they said something rude or a profanity, that would be hashed out. The other person wouldn't see it. If it became a bit more egregious, then we would take sanctions according to how serious the offence was that the person committed. But in a lot of these cases, it's actually a teachable moment. These are young people pushing the boundaries, trying to see what they can get away with, and being a bit horrible to one another. They're probably not things that would out and out break the community standards on the platform. But sometimes it's also just that they don't understand that what they're doing is actually offensive or inappropriate. It's not always a deliberate harm, but it may be really offensive to somebody to see it on the platform. So, we do, wherever possible, try to kind of explain to people why what they've said is inappropriate. Did they realize it could be really hurtful or harmful to somebody? And in a lot of cases, that actually does the trick. We also see a lot of self-regulation on the platform. We know that if young people are not enjoying themselves, if they're not having a good time in a particular experience, they will just leave, and they will tell all their friends. They will also leave, and they'll just go and hang out somewhere else within the platform. And we often see, if somebody starts being a bit mean or teasing or one of those sorts of things, other people will kind of be upstanders and say, hey, we don't act like that in here. We don't like it when people say things like that. And quite often that's enough to change that behavior. So whilst, yes, as I say, we take our responsibility very, very seriously, actually, we really love to encourage that community action and support that happens as well.
Amazing. Thank you so much for that, Laura. We have just a few minutes left. So the questions that we have, I'm going to direct to each of you so we can get the best and most. So the first question says, or the next question says, as revenue grows, don't you think that outsourcing helps you to increase, to address online safety would be cheaper than hiring more people? Laura, do you want to answer that first?
Yeah, of course. So we do have some agents working for us around the world. You know, for us, it's really important that we can provide a language support, and also some people who have the cultural understanding of different regions around the world. So as well as our in-house team that are all based in California and in some of our other places around the world, we do outsource some of that support and moderation, as well as relying on machine learning, of course, which is also another way that we can kind of build additional support in place. The other thing that we do, which I think also adds that additional layer, which isn't just about us having people physically sitting in an office in California, is around working with our safety partners. So Marc-Antoine mentioned working with Netacute. We also work with them in France, and we have similar safety organizations around the world who we will work with to understand cultural or social issues that might be happening in a particular region, and also to help us to share out sort of, you know, if we have a new parental control, we work with those organizations to help to spread and raise awareness of that so that we can get the message out really quickly and hopefully, you know, as broadly as possible.
Thank you so much. Marc, are you back? Oh, awesome. You're right here.
Yeah, I'm back.
So the next question was going to be for you. And it's a long question, so listen very carefully. And said, as we go to understand the data rights as human rights, how are platforms compiling with Article 8 of the General Data Protection Regulation, GDPR, specifically knowing users' ages, and for young children obtaining parental consent before processing data? GDPR is all about respecting child rights. Can the panelists speak to? Marc, can you speak to how they're protecting, children data rights, especially because Yubo is like a platform for millennials and Gen Z?
I think as we talk about the change in the way we are doing safety, the link between safety and data is one of the most important questions for the next 10 years. Because the thing is that the more you want to do in terms of safety, the more data you need to really be good at what you're doing. So the thing is that companies need to work on this tension between protection and privacy. So I think that that's a really interesting and fascinating question. So what we do is that, of course, we comply with the GDPR in terms of data retention, and the way we handle data at Yubo. For example, we don't do ads on our platform, so we don't manage, we don't do anything with the user's data, commercially speaking. But what we're doing is that in everything we are doing, we are trying to comply with the spirit of the GDPR in terms of minimization of data sharing. So, for example, the example I gave you previously about parental consent. So the thing is that normally in the paper you need to have like the parental consent, but it's very difficult to do because you would need to have like a parents contact, parents ID card, and share this information and to make sure that it's the right parents that give the consent. So it's pretty complex, and so for example, just to give you examples, the thing we did, we were testing that in France for parental consent for users between 13 and 14, for example. We ask you the contact of your parents, and we send a text to your parents, and we ask you the parents just to take a picture of themselves, and we do age scan verification, so we don't ask parents for their ID documents because we know that most of the parents will not want to do that. So we're just scanning the age of the picture you're taking, and we're making the assumption that if you're over like 30 years old, for example, you have a big chance to be the parents of the user. So we are doing this kind of test to make sure that we minimize the data we're asking to users, and to make sure that we are able to protect, but also to comply with GDPR. So I think it's really interesting all these questions, because there is this tension, and I think that's one of the biggest questions in the next 10 years when we are considering safety. So very good question.
Awesome, thank you. And that was also a very, very good answer and very enlightening, even for me. So just in case I want to be the platform later on and have to think about GDPR, I think you gave a very wonderful answer. 2 more questions, and I'll throw it to both of you. Mark, this question is for you, just back to you. What would your advice be to brands who are looking to build or capitalize on a social community? And then for Laura, in addition to talking about the benefits that we can hear about the realities, for example, pedophile groomed 150 children to engage in sexual activities using online games. Is there anything that you want to say to that? So anybody can go first, actually.
I can start if you want. So in terms of advice for building a social community, I think that's I think the advice is really simple, looks very easy, but I think it's very difficult to fulfill. You need to listen to your users because most of the time I've met a lot, and I've made this mistake also in my previous company. So sometimes you want to be the platform you're not in reality. So the thing is that you need to listen to users, why they use your service, why they use your platform, for what reasons, and not project yourself in your users because sometimes they are pretty different from you. So you have to cultivate the empathy and the feedback loop from the users. And that's really difficult because sometimes you're obsessed with some ideas about how people should use your service, or and sometimes you really need to talk to your users and try to really understand in a very deep way why they use the product. So that's not easy because feedback sometimes is difficult to filter, it's difficult to understand. So I think the biggest advice would be to cultivate the feedback culture you have on your company, on your product, and also to share that with all the new people that join, because it's easy to have a feedback culture when you're 5, 6, 10 people, but when you're at 100, 1,000, it's much more difficult. So I think it looks very simple, but I think the biggest advice I would give would be to be close to your community, listen to them, and really build something valuable for your users. Even if they are like in a small number at the very beginning, it's better to have like 100 very engaged users rather than 1,000 that just join and as new users and after leave after 1 week. So it's really important to have this in mind.
Awesome, thank you so much. And Laura?
So my question was really about the kind of darker side of what happens in all online environments. And I think, it's a really fair point. We have to be honest that anywhere that particularly is created around young people with negative intent will probably try and be there to get access to young people. So where our responsibility lies is to make it as inhospitable as possible. We want to make it really uncomfortable and very difficult for people to get access to young people when they shouldn't be. So we proactively report to NECMEC, which is the process for reporting harmful content or potential grooming activities. We have numerous softwares that run across the platform to detect grooming behavior or grooming language. And again, we proactively work with law enforcement all over the world to flag anything that's suspicious or worrying. We work in a sort of softer way with organisations like the National Crime Agency here in the UK, who have a dedicated group that we're part of, working with other games industry, trying to stamp out child exploitation. So it's about really being aware of those things, trying new things, working together collaboratively, involving law enforcement all the time. And again, that education for the parents and for the community to recognise scary behaviours and to report it, to make sure that everybody's playing their part to make it really uncomfortable, to really try and deter that bad behaviour. But, it is obviously our number one priority.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Laura and Marc, for this very enlightening session. I think the one thing that is clear from this session is that nurturing community safety is very important. It's never too early to think about it for your business, for your startup. And as you grow, utilize all the resources that you can, educate people, prevent it as much as possible, and also listen to them. And of course, just like Laura said, you can't do it in silos. So make sure that you're building the community around this. Thank you so much, Marc. Thank you so much, Laura. Kevin, we're going to hand over to you right now.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone.